Thank you so much for all of your support in this project, whether it's by tuning into these videos, sharing them, liking them on social media, or even donating to the GoFundMe. I am incredibly grateful for your support. I got to choose three really wonderful organizations who are supporting artists in this very difficult time of COVID-19. And I know why I love the organizations, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to learn a little bit more about them. So I have interviewed the leaders of these three organizations so that you can learn a little bit more about who they are, what their organization does, and how their organization has been impacted by the pandemic. One of the organizations that I have decided to support is the Artist Relief Tree. And I had an opportunity to interview one of the founders of that fund, Morgan Brophy, who told me all of the amazing work that they have already done and they plan to do to help artists in this time.
Yeah.
So Megan, what I would love to know is I would love to know a little bit more about you specifically
Sure.
and
Yeah.
sort of the core group
hmm
that put this fund together.
Sure. So I work for Wolf Trap. That's my day job. I am the assistant director of artistic administration there. I cast for our studio artist program, our directing fellows, and I produce all of our offsite stuff. So we have two venues on campus here, and then we do a number of partnerships and things with other organizations. And I do most of the producing for those offsite projects.
Yeah.
This project started with a colleague of mine who's also in the opera industry. He's a conductor and pianist coach at Lawrence University, but he's a professional. He worked in Berlin for 8 years. He freelances around all the time. So we've been colleagues for the better part of a decade. And we were talking as this was just starting to kind of hit the radar here in the US in early March. We were just starting to see people's cancellations start to roll in
Right.
on social media. You know, people just saying like, "Oh, I guess this is how this is going to go."
Right.
And we were just talking and said, you know, we really we have to do something. Like no one is doing anything yet. And so in about an hour over the phone, we set up a Facebook fundraiser, we set up a new bank account, and like we were off and running. That's all it took. And we thought, you know, well, maybe we can raise like $10,000 and get people some money really quick. And within a few days, it was clear that this was going to be much, much bigger than that. It took off very fast.
Yes, indeed. It sure did.
So yeah, within a few days, Andrew Crooks was already back in New Zealand, and we had made a few phone calls and pulled a few other people into the core team. So we went from 2 to 6 within about 4 days, and also went from 0 to $100,000 within about 4 days. Yeah, that
Wow.
weekend. I didn't sleep that weekend at all.
Oh my God.
And then since then, at this point, we're encroaching on $500,000. Most of that has already been redistributed. There's not much money in the bank right now. It's coming in and it's going right back out.
Right.
And we have about 20 to 22 volunteers working on this on 4 different continents right now.
Wow.
So it's really and we've pulled in, again, most of us come from or are tied to the opera industry in some way, just because that's where my network is.
Right. Yeah.
But we've been able to attract the attention of folks and have made friends with folks in the dance community and the visual art community and the theater community. And so we've got a pretty incredible team, and things just keep kind of chugging along.
Wow.
We're very close to finalizing a fiscal sponsorship agreement, which would make donations going forward tax deductible, which is great. And then we also, have the pro bono support of that law firm. They're going to help us incorporate as a nonprofit. So we're kind of making those long-term steps. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
So tell me, so how, what was your original plan for, you were going to raise money for artists. So
Yeah.
what was your original plan? And then what did that then eventually morph into?
Yeah, the original plan, the kind of spark that set this all off was the idea that that people needed emergency funding, right? And so we very quickly came up with this format of any self-identified artist who is in need of emergency funding, whose income has been affected by COVID, can, apply for and receive a flat US $250 to use for whatever. And it's first come, first serve. So we're working our way through that queue right now. We knew we didn't have time to make value judgments on people's artwork, or make judgment calls on need-based evaluations. So we kept our application process very simple. All we asked for was a short statement about how this has affected an artist's work, and then either like a link to a website or a resume or a link to images or some kind of proof of whatever your artistry is. And then we did ask for a personal reference, just as sort of a backup. And that was pretty much it. We have a team, there's about 6 folks on the finance team. They are reviewing all of these applications in order, and really all they're doing is verifying that people are who they say they are and that they've demonstrated artistry of some kind. That's it. We're not judging what kind it is. We've got children's party face painters and aerialists and circus performers and authors and lots of singers and musicians and visual artists and jewelry makers and pottery and like just all kinds of people. There's things I didn't even know existed that are out there.
Wow. Wow.
So we, within those same first 4 days, we received 3,517 applications. And at that point, we closed the applicants, essentially round 1 of applications, because our donations just weren't keeping up, even at that really fast pace.
Right.
$3,500 at $250 a pop, that in and of itself is $879,000.
Right.
So we're not even quite there yet.
Right.
We did at that same point open up a wait list so that if we get, like maybe out there somewhere, someone's going to give us $5 million.
Yeah. That'd be great.
If we get to that point, we do have a wait list accumulating, so we can let those folks know. But there are nearly 15,000 people on that wait list. So the need is just huge.
Enormous.
The back to your original question, we started with this, we can get $250 to people. It's not a lot, but maybe it will, at that point, it was like, get your flight home, put gas in your car to get home, pay your rent for the month, get groceries, like just something. And a lot of people still need that kind of support. It's certainly evolved since then to include a lot of other things. I think for all of us on the team, this this concept of a tree, which was not an accident, that was very intentional. Trees are a gathering place and a place of protection, and providing $250 is just one part of the process. There are lots of other resources that we're providing and working on providing to artists everywhere. So we did a webinar series on with a financial advisor who's on our team, who specializes in financial advising for artists, and offered that for free to all of the people on our list. We've got a branding consultant on our team, and so he's going to do some media and branding coachings and things. So being able to offer some of that kind of like teaching how to fish, not just handing a fish, those kinds of resources to people, that's in the long-term plan, and we're still kind of working on developing that.
So do you have a particular, I mean, so you get these random people like, you know, me, random soprano in New York, just like saying, hey, I'm going to do this for you. But I mean, do you have any kind of plan to sort of try to reach out to more people to say, okay, well, you know, we exist and lots of crap has been going on, but now how can we get to that $1 million mark or whatever?
It's a constantly evolving plan. Right now, the plan is actually morphing into kind of creating this toolkit that we can make available to artists like you to say, hey, you want to do an event? Like, here are some FAQs, here are some tips and tricks, here's how you can get us money, here's what we can offer you in terms of support and resources. Because I'm about to head into a wolf trap summer season, and I need to focus on the 40, 50 artists that are actually on site in Virginia for a little bit. So my time commitment has to go from like 40 hours a week to like 1 or 2 hours a week pretty soon. So we're kind of trying to set ourselves up to allow, at least on a public facing side, allow people like you to kind of keep doing what you're doing, keep raising money, we'll keep bringing it in and keep sending it out, but we're not going to quite be as public as we have been over the last 3 months. While that's happening, we're going to continue to work in the background on like, how do we activate these ambassadors really effectively? How do we tap into new parts of the industry? How do we, what's the next growth spurt for us here to get to that $1 million mark? We're about to, like I mentioned, the fiscal sponsorship is coming. That will allow us to start applying for grant funding, and really, I mean, thus far, our average donation has been about $125. This has been built on small grassroots donations. We don't have like an angel donor at the 6-figure level. People are really aware that even though $250 isn't a lot of money in the grand scheme, it can make a big difference for people on an individual basis.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that there's also the psychological thing that, you know, something that we as artists struggle with, especially the self-employed artists, is that we are often the very first to be forgotten when the government is trying to come up with solutions. And there's this whole swath of us who they just don't believe exists or whatever. And to have an organization that is specifically out there to say, you are artists. I mean, you know what, there's something that I saw, and I'm sure you saw it too, that in New York, in the New York Times, did you see the list of who are considered essential?
Yes.
And artists were listed as the #1 non-essential.
Yeah, I did. I know.
And
it's tragic.
It is absolutely tragic. And so that for you to sort of champion this idea that, you know, artists need help. That is exactly where my heart lies. And I just think that it is a truly incredibly wonderful and generous thing that you and your colleagues have birthed. And I'm pulling for you and hope that
Thank
you
you.
make that goal.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to help support Del Arte Opera Ensemble, the Artist Relief Tree, or the Hochstein Music School, please visit my GoFundMe page and give. Give as much as you can. Even $1 would help so much in reaching our goal. Thanks so much, and keep enjoying the music.